So I was reading today in Ephesians, and there's a verse, one of many throughout the New Testament, that says, you should not engage in foolish, wasteful pastimes, and you should be sure to conduct every moment of your life with, wisdom and prudence and, don't waste your time. Make sure that what you're doing is, for the betterment of mankind or your soul or your relationship with God or something like that. Anyway, I'm making it a lot more complicated than it is, but then again, I'm not. We see this throughout the New Testament and the Old Testament, where we are admonished to live each moment to the fullest. Now, in postmodern culture, that tends to be equated with, hey, follow your bliss and make sure that you do things that make you happy and to hell with everybody else. That's the parenthetical consequence, to hell with what other people want or how it affects them. Do what makes you feel good, to thine own self be true. Well, it's not really what the instruction is. The instruction is to, and this goes back to the parable of the talents in Matthew, use what you've got, use the opportunities you're given to their fullest potential. It sounds straightforward enough, right? Make the most of your abilities and be happy for what you've got. It goes into this whole notion of living life to the fullest. The thing is that I don't know what that means. Growing up as a little kid, I didn't spend a lot of time daydreaming about, fairy princes and fantasy castles and stuff like that. But I did have this daydream of, having a family and taking care of them and cooking for them and having a nice home and stuff like that. This was very much in conflict with the rather exclusive private school education I was getting. Part of the opportunities I was fortunate to have was I had access to a pretty outstanding education, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I never could escape the sense that if you have access to this kind of education and this kind of professional opportunity that can go along with that, isn't that your obligation? Isn't that living your life to the fullest? Don't you owe it to the people who paid your tuition, to your teachers, your parents, to society at large, to then use your skills and education to then make the world a better place, right? Isn't it greedy to take what you learned and stay home? I've never been able to come up with an answer to that. I want to say no. No, it's not greedy. Education for education's sake is a perfectly noble pursuit. Back when I was in high school, I was applying to Bryn Mawr, and the president of the college at the time had this wonderful quote where she said, "The purpose of an education is to make your mind a more interesting place to live." And I always thought that was fantastic, because really, is there a better reason? But then I go to this high school, and the school motto is non-sibi, which means not for oneself. And as they expand on that, they say, any opportunity that you have from having attended this school and learned all of these things and so on and so forth, you have a moral obligation to use this for the betterment of society, to then hand off, so to speak, the opportunities that you've had and share them with other people who didn't get these same opportunities. Well, I agree, we shouldn't hoard our privilege. At the same time, how do you know what's enough? Is it so wrong that I want to stay home and bake scones for my kid? Do I have to join the Peace Corps to be a selfless and contributing member of society? I mean, there's got to be some balance in there, right? But how do you know? How do you know that you've found the right thing and not just the easy thing? A few years ago, I got really sick. And as a result, I can no longer work professionally the way I used to. I used to work in biotech, and I was in project management and quality assurance. And that involved a lot of time management, a lot of managing other people's resources, a lot of persuading people that really, to obtain their objectives, they wanted to help you obtain yours. It was insanely competitive and stressful and really, really fun. Anyway, as a result of getting sick, I no longer have the kind of rapidity of thought or the kind of memory that you really do need to be able to do that job. So I've been at home, and the choice to work in the public world as opposed to stay in the private world was kind of taken away from me. You would think this would make it easier, right? I mean, what else am I supposed to do now but bake scones for my kid? But the thing is it's not any easier. In part because I miss my job. I miss being able to work. It was very interesting work. It was exciting. I mean, we really were curing cancer, and it was great. Not to mention, it's pretty nice to be able to provide health care and other benefits for your family. I mean, that's pretty satisfying, too. But, you know, it's gone now. Is it wrong to stay home? Well, no, it's not. But now that I'm home, it's not easier, you know? I still don't know how to best spend every moment at home because there are so many different ways you can do that, you know? Does it mean that I have to have a spotless house and 7-course dinners every night? Or is it okay to simply be home? And that answer changes every day. I don't know. How do we know that we're not spending our time foolishly? How do we know which talents it is that God wants us to be using at a given time? I think this is not an easy question to answer. I don't think there is an answer, one answer, that will last you for your whole life. I think it's something that we need to ask ourselves, if not every day like I do, then certainly frequently, because our direction can change. The skills that we have or the opportunities we have hopefully evolve over our lives, particularly if we're paying attention to them. So I think we need to keep asking. But I don't know how we know what the answer is.